Tonko. And please rise and welcome the 57th Governor of the great state of New York, Governor Kathy Hochul.
Good morning. Good morning. Please be seated. Thank you. Thank you. I want to thank everyone who's joined us on this morning, starting with our Commissioner Barbara Gwynn, the Office of Temporary and Disability Assistance. She'll be joining me to answer questions later. Rory Christian, the Chair and CEO of the Public Service Commission. That's my administration, but I also want to say one of my great friends back to the time when I sat next to him in Congress, Paul Tonko, who has been a strong voice at a time when this region needs people who just stand up to do the right thing. And I'm so grateful that you represent this region with such heart and compassion. And I reflect that it was a year ago we stood and talked about this very topic, but all we were doing was reminding people to sign up for energy assistance. A year ago, we did not have the same specter, the clouds hanging over this program, the storm clouds that exist today. And so the world has changed dramatically in 1 year, Congressman, but what has not changed is your commitment to this region. Let's give our Congressman another round of applause. We also have our Senator Pat Fahey has joined us. Thank you, Pat Fahey, for standing up for these families. Our County Executive Dan McCoy has joined us. Dan, appreciate this. Our Mayor Kathy Sheehan, thank you. Big champion for this city and this region for many years, and I can't imagine life without her in this city, but we'll find out soon. With our mayor-elect has joined us. Dorcia Poliers has joined us. Look forward to deepening our relationship as well, mayor-elect. So we also have someone you're going to be hearing from, Marie Mayfield, who's going to talk what it's like to be not just a resident of Colony, but someone who benefits from the programs we're describing. She also is a SNAP recipient, so she's been through a lot of trauma over the last few months, inflicted by the Republicans in Washington. She's also going to talk about what it's like to be a grandma raising 2 grandchildren in her house, a 7-year-old who needs some extra help, and a 14-year-old. And I told her, my mom always told me that God will not give you any more than you can handle. So you're about to hear from a very strong woman who has a lot of challenges in life, but has risen up, but also is a voice for those all across the state who are not in a room here today, but need people to stand up and fight for them, as well as all the advocates in the room. You know who you're fighting for. You know you're doing the right thing, and I thank all of you. But I reflect on the fact that all across New York State, New Yorkers woke up to below freezing temperatures. A little early, in my opinion, but I looked at the thermometers, the temperature all over the state. You know, North Country, over to Buffalo, down to Long Island, the city here in the capital region. It is a cold day out there, and that is a cold reminder of what we're facing and why we're gathered here today. As I mentioned, you know, when the Congressman and I stood here a year ago, it would have been impossible to imagine a scenario where we find ourselves today, with a federal government literally walking away from their responsibility. I'll talk about that, but I'll also talk about what we, as a state that is a compassionate state, that looks out for its people, what we're doing in its stead. But contrast that with an administration that's literally willing to leave people out in the cold. And the shutdown, it was inhumane. This is a Republican-driven shutdown where so many people were hurt, so many. And I heard from people all across the state, just so stressed out. They're already stressed out. But then to say that some of their life support, you know, whether it's food or energy assistance, was going to be gone, that they were merely pawns in a political drama, that may be over, but guess what? It could start all over again in January. This is a temporary reprieve, and who knows what'll happen then. You know, the Agriculture Secretary was talking about their big ideas, and we talked about SNAP. They told us back in September that there was going to be $6 billion available in emergency funds, because never in the history of this state or this country, during a government shutdown, have they eliminated or suspended food stamp programs. Never. Because that was just too much to comprehend, that you'd actually let people be hungry. And yet it happened now. The Secretary of Agriculture took down the post on the website that said there was $6 billion waiting for them and made it act like it never happened. And so we had to fight that. But now we're still dealing with the trauma of that. But we head into the coldest months of the year. This shutdown delayed our ability to get home heating assistance out to people who need the support. They withheld $400 million here in the state of New York alone, $400 million from federally funded heat program. And it set back the application window because normally at this time of year, New Yorkers are able to be applying. It's early November. As I said, it's getting cold out. This is when you want to make sure that you have this in place. And, you know, it's amazing they couldn't come up with that $400 million, but $300 million for a gilded ballroom in the Capitol, in the White House. I mean, that shows what their priorities are. It is shocking. It is shocking. And so it's cruel, but let's talk about what the impact here in New York is. We have 1.5 million New York households that are going to be facing the possibility of entering this winter without the support they've been able to count on, and they therefore will not be able to afford their energy bills. 2/3 of them include small children, older adults, or people with disabilities. Again, the most vulnerable among us. So what are we talking about? We're talking about a first grader in New York City who's sitting there shivering, hard to focus because it's too cold doing their homework. A new mom coming home from a hospital, Mercy Hospital in Buffalo, trying to heat up the formula on the stove. And the power's not there, the energy's not there. Or, as I mentioned, a grandmother on a fixed income in a place like Colony, Marie, who you'll be hearing from shortly. Now, if you recall, Donald Trump promised on day one to lower utility bills. Well, he promised a lot of things, but that's one stuck in mind. Prices are going to come down. Utility bills are going to be lower. And instead, they're rising. And this delay in starting a program that's supposed to help people with those utility bills is just cruel. And we cannot stand idly by here in the state of New York while that happens to our people. Not now, not ever. I have spent my years as governor trying to make this state more affordable despite all the headwinds. And last year, we lowered middle-class taxes to the lowest rate they've been in 70 years. We put money back in people's with free lunches and breakfast for children in schools, free community college for adults going into careers where we have vacancies, child tax credit, knowing that children under the age of 4 are pretty darn expensive, right, Marie? That's when they cost a lot. So we're focusing on affordability and also energy bills, but here we are constantly trying to play catch up with the Trump administration. But here's what we're doing. During this shutdown, we dedicated more than $100 million to low-income New Yorkers for SNAP, and we also fortified our network of food bank and pantry partners. And also, let's talk about energy. This is why we have to look at an all-the-above approach to our energy solutions, because we know the more supply we have, the more the prices will decline. It's just common sense. Same thing why we want to build more housing. You build more housing stock, you have more apartments on the market, more houses, the prices go down. It's just basic economics. But I also know that very simply we're not leaving people out in the cold, and we let bills escalate. And that is why we have a thoughtful approach to energy. And I want to make sure you know that we are going to continue the resources we have in place, so every New Yorker is able to stay in their home nice and warm, even when Donald Trump refuses to help. So first of all, I want to urge all eligible households to sign up for the programs we have here in New York. The New York's Energy Assistance Program, which provides monthly discounts on your bills. Now here's what's frustrating. In 2025, we had over 1 million homes sign up for this. That's great. But we know that there's 1.5 million more that are eligible for this who did not sign up. So I need everybody to help get the word out. Everybody you can contact to say, sign up for this, take advantage of this. The state and our legislature, myself, we're committed to helping you. So make sure we get more people to look into that. If you're a family of 4 and make up to $80,000, or family of 5 that makes $90,000, they can enroll in these discounts. But that's not enough for us. We're expanding the eligibility into 2026. That'll raise the income limit so another 1.6 million will be eligible. So that's good news. And for people to learn more, go to ny.gov/EAP. Okay, remember that. Is it on the sign too? There you go. But also we have state laws that prevent utility companies from shutting off power to vulnerable households during the colder months. They know that, and we're going to enforce that very intensely. And now, let me just say this. Energy assistance is not some radical idea. It's not dreamed up by anybody other than, guess who? Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan first put this in place, his first year in office. It's been supported by Democrat and Republican administrations since the very beginning. They've long recognized the humanity of helping people be warm during cold months, especially in places like New York, which get very cold. So 44 years later, we find ourselves with an administration just dead set on hurting people. And our own Republican delegation here in New York, not exactly profiles in courage because they have a voice, they have a vote, and they refuse to use it to stand up for cold New Yorkers. Wish more of them were like Paul Tonko, who's not afraid to do what's necessary to protect the people in his district and his state. Here we've done everything we needed on our side to make sure the applications for HEAP can reopen on the 24th, because the money's still not been released. You know that. The money has still not been released from the federal government, despite the fact that the shutdown is over. That's point number one. So we want to make sure we can get these applications out, but the federal government has to step up right now. Today I'm calling on the Trump administration and all Republicans to turn on this heat, turn on the spigot, turn on the gas, turn on the power, turn on the electricity. Let's start making sure that people don't have to be stressed out all across America about whether or not their families and themselves are going to be cold. Release the federal heating funds, which are essential, and join all of us here in keeping people safe and warm. And while you're at it, just do your jobs. Just do your jobs. I mean, I'm not asking for more than that. It gets a little frustrating because we should not be standing here talking about this. We should be simply saying, another year, our state program, it's working, it's got the federal funds are there to back it up, everything's good. Why is that not the case? Well, I don't have the answer, but I believe they will all have to answer for this before very long. Americans are sick and tired of this, being punching bags, being denied food, being denied heat, and now health insurance premiums. Have you seen them lately? Have you gotten one in the mail? Have you talked to somebody? Doubling? Where are people supposed to get the money? Yeah, prices were going to come down, except they didn't. So their strategy is to take from the poor and give to the rich. I don't think that's going to hold much longer. Americans are going to rebel against that. But remember, that's Washington. Here in New York, we know who we are. We have heart. We have compassion. Yeah, we have a lot of grit. We also care about people deeply. That's what sets us apart from what is happening right now in our nation's capital. In New York, we'll feed those who are hungry. We don't turn our backs on them. In New York, we protect each other. We don't block access to critical health care. And in New York, we don't let people freeze. So let's stand together. We know what we have to do. Despite all the storm clouds that are down in Washington, I feel here in New York, We're on the right track. We're doing the right thing. And it's as simple as standing up for our people. Thank you very much. Let me bring up, thank you. Let me introduce Congressman Paul Tonko. As a former head of NYSERDA, understands how important energy is to our lives. Is that correct? You had a history before Congress, that's for sure. But ladies and gentlemen, this is a champion at a time when we need people to be real champions. Thank you, Paul Tonko.
Well, Governor, thank you, and thank you for your grit that you made mention of. Thank you for your compassion and passion to make a difference. And these are troubling times, but made even more troubling by cruelty. There seems to be this drive to add cruelty to struggle. And we saw it with this shutdown. We saw it with the whole effort to bring back the SNAP issue. And why, when Congress created in a bipartisan, bicameral way a contingency fund for SNAP, would you deny that? And then when a judge assessed the whole case, a federal district judge said, pay the folks on for the hunger program, still resisted. That's cruelty. There's no naming it anything else, describing it as anything other than that. And Governor, I appreciate your focus on the HEAP program, what you've done with SNAP. Thank you for the heart that is so important, addressing individuals, families, children, our seniors, our veterans, with compassion, with dignity. And those factors are important. It's good to be with my partners in local government. We see each other every other day, so, but it's great. It's great to have strong partners at the state level, at the county level, at the city level, local level, and certainly working with the governor and her team and the state legislators, where I spent 25 years in the state assembly, and you're right, ended that with 15 years as chair of the Energy Committee, and it was in a transition period where we were deregulating the utility industry. And so it's great to join forces with my colleagues across the country, Democrats on the Hill, who have made affordability the issue of our times, because many of the costs are beyond the reach of our working families, and we need to make a difference. And we don't do it by providing for billionaire tax cuts. We do it by extending programs and improving programs that reach to our working families. Each month, millions of New Yorkers are forced to decide between paying for medicine, paying for food, or paying their utility bill. And HEAP is one of those strong federal programs, proven and effective, that helps struggling New Yorkers who have had to face those unthinkable choices. Last year, 6 million U.S. households, benefited from HEAP funding, many of them having children and seniors that occupy those households. Despite receiving over $4 billion worth of funding from Congress, the program is still, in my opinion, underfunded, because some 17% of eligible households are served by the program. And to the governor's statement, please apply. If you are eligible, please apply. The program is there to assist in very important times for people during the winter season. HEAP is a lifeline for so many families, but we have seen those critical funds being delayed and put in jeopardy by this Trump administration. I believe our governor will do everything possible to get this money out to New Yorkers who need it as quickly as possible. But at the moment, we're relying on the Trump administration to send this money to the states, to have a heart and to utilize these funds and get them into working order. This is coming at a time when working families are experiencing massive health care cost increases, rising costs for groceries, and certainly for energy bills. And it's clear that this president is out of touch. He either doesn't know or perhaps doesn't care about struggle, Americans who are struggling at this moment with these basic costs of living. If he did know or care, you would expect there to be more urgency expressed by the administration in making certain these dollars are reaching Americans as they're intended. But unfortunately, President Trump has demonstrated time and time again how little he cares about this program and the people that it serves. But who do we take care of? Who does this administration take care of? There was no hesitation to provide for billionaire tax cuts. I think the struggle that is part of this budget is basically because we took a ton of dollars out of the process that could have strengthened our economy, strengthened programs, chipped away at our deficit. Instead, they applied this effort to the billionaire tax relief. Well, it's important that we look at the track record here. When the president introduced the budget to Congress, he proposed cutting the HEAP program, rejecting it totally. To eliminate HEAP is just a sign of insensitivity. Back in April, the Trump administration went further. They fired the HHS staff, the Health and Human Services staff, that are responsible for administering this program and getting the money out to the states. So actions sometimes speak louder than words. During the shutdown, instead of coming to the table, there were like no negotiations with the executive branch. One visit, and again, no real discussion on how to make things work. But during that shutdown, there was time to throw a Great Gatsby party. How insensitive. You know, the roaring 20s in the face of people struggling to get by. No hesitation to take the wrecking ball to the East Wing of the White House. A lot of people shocked by that without really thinking that destruction would come. All to build a ballroom that will probably dwarf the White House and its infrastructure. A $40 billion bailout for a political ally in Argentina. Talk about the wrong set of priorities. While people go without food, people go and can ill afford to pay their utility bill. You know, we're talking about instant relief. That should be the order of the day. So the health, the safety, the economic security of millions of New Yorkers is directly dependent on HEAP and HEAP funding. On Friday, I joined with 100 of my colleagues in the House with a letter that we have co-signed to HHS Secretary Kennedy and also forwarded it to OMB Director Vogt, calling for them to release the maximum amount of funding possible as quickly as possible. That's responding to the requests like governors like Kathy Hochul and others across the nation who understand the value, the economic recovery and added recovery efforts of HEAP that can assist families that most need it. So I'm hoping, we haven't heard, obviously it went over on Friday, but we'll stay in touch with the governor and the state reps to make certain these funds are made accessible to the people as quickly as possible, to make certain that they understand the true value of HEAP. I believe Congress in a bipartisan fashion will reject the efforts of the executive branch to eliminate the program, but time will tell. So all of that work, the governor's advocacy, the state legislative advocacy, the local leaders, all of that work is driven by human outcry, the voices of folks who put a name and face to these programs. And I'm so honored to introduce Marie Mayfield, a constituent from Colony. It's nice to know that you go to Washington and speak for families that give it their all, show true compassion to their grandchildren, there for them when they have a need, making ends meet, balancing that home budget, relying on programs like SNAP and HEAP, and all the better for it. So Marie, I'm proud to be able to be your voice in Washington and to know that there are strong people like you who work every day to make a difference, who address the issues and the struggles out there with a strong sense of family values. So please welcome Marie Mayfield, who is our HEAP recipient from Colony and a grandmother. Welcome, Marie Mayfield.
Good morning, all. I'd just like to say that, of course, I'm Marie Mayfield. You've heard that already. And I'm a resident of Colony, a very happy resident of Colony, I have to say. I want to thank you, Governor Hochul, for bringing us together today to talk about the important issues of federal heat assistance and energy affordability. I'm one of those 1.5 million New Yorkers who uses HEAP, federal assistance each year, to help with the cost of heating my home. My home, who houses my 2 grandchildren, 7 and 14, and my little dog, 7 years old. I like to say that now that it's this time of year, it's getting colder each day and night. And I'm listening to my granddaughter, my youngest one, say, "Oh, it's cold in here. Put up that heat," you know. And I try to keep it at one temperature. But the Trump administration hasn't agreed to provide the funding yet, and that's just wrong. I'm here to say that this is a federally funded program. That means it's a federal government's responsibility to provide that heat assistance. They need to stop playing around and fund this program now. There are so many senior citizens, so many younger, underprivileged families who have young children that take this program very seriously. I appreciate that Governor Hochul is calling this out and demanding action from the Trump administration. At a time when this federal funding has been delayed, I also appreciate that the governor is still focused on protecting state programs and energy affordability. I also received support through New York State Energy Affordability Program. It saves hundreds of dollars each year for me and giving me a monthly discount on my energy bill. It's not just during the winter, it's every month and all year round. As a senior living on a fixed income, getting this discount on my energy bill makes a real difference to me. Governor Hochul is protecting this program, and that's a good thing for seniors like me. Thank you, Governor. The governor is also helping to get more New Yorkers enrolled in this state program so they can get a discount on their energy bills also. I hope more people will use this program to get a monthly discount, just like I do. It's clear that the governor is doing what she needs to do, help seniors like me and other New Yorkers across our state taking benefit of these programs. It's time for the federal government to step up for the people, all of the people on both sides. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That concludes our program.